All right, it's 7 o'clock, so let me start off our September meeting. It's first Zoom meeting we've done since May. And welcome everyone. Hope everyone's had a great summer, which is what the theme of tonight's meeting will be. Kind of a traditional thing. We always get together and find out who went on some exotic trips. So we got several exotic, not some fairly exotic and some just a lot of local stuff, but we have a pretty packed program. So I hope everyone enjoys it, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come see our meeting. Okay, and so without further ado, let's get started. Usual things, we try to open a meeting up a few minutes early so we can kind of chat and swap stories here. And as I said, welcome to our meeting. This is kind of our general agenda we follow. We'll give you some quick updates of what we're planning to do this season. And Al will give us an update on our conservation efforts and also our Project Healing Waters. And then we'll get into the main part of the program, which tonight is really going to be a lot of photos and fishing reports from June to September. So we got some interesting stuff here tonight. Okay, so as we traditionally do, please remove your hats and let's join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that's a very poignant photo I like to pull out this time in September. As you know, we're hard to miss it, but we just had the 20th anniversary of that awful September 11th event. Okay, so welcome. If you are new to our meeting, use the chat and introduce yourself to everyone. And let's do just some quick updates. We actually have a fair number of new members in our chapter. We're up to 241. The last time I did a check, we were at 187. And the jump occurred when the members of the former Conhockton Valley chapter were absorbed into our Canandaigua Lake chapter. So if anyone's here from that area, Naples or Avoca or Bath or Cohocton, any of those towns, Dansville, Hammondsport, all of those zip codes were added into our chapter. Getting quite a few dings there as we're talking here, so we're getting more and more people joining us. And our Facebook page continues to grow. We've got 328 members on Facebook, and we put a lot of pictures out there. It's actually a really good medium to put fish stories and photos that you've taken. And it also is a good way for us to kind of borrow your pictures for the newsletters or these meetings. So thank you for anyone that posts fishing photos there. And we also put a link to our Tightline newsletter on Facebook and also on our new website. And that'll be one of the things we'll also share with you tonight. We did a lot of high-tech upgrades the past season. A lot of that in response to kind of the new normal of things. So hopefully folks had a chance to look at some of this stuff and are enjoying it. One of the things we're doing tonight too that's worked out well, we started doing last spring, is we record these Zoom meetings and then we add it to our YouTube channel. And this, you can see kind of a picture of what the home screen of that looks like. And you'll see we've got our, let's see, March, April, May, I think back to February, that meeting too. And some other things. So anytime we record anything or have an interesting video, we attach it to this. So take a look at our, if you go into YouTube, just search for Canandaigua Lake TU, and this should pop up. And if you click the subscribe screen, it doesn't really bug you about anything, but it does keep track of how many subscribers visit it. And one of the newest things we did is our intro to fly fishing school. We recorded that. We had a couple of volunteers and we recorded it for them last May, and we've attached that to there too. So we got a lot of new stuff on there. So please take a look at her. And so here's our calendar for the upcoming season. And we've got it just about filled out. In October 11th, we're having Rocky Rockwell again, and he's going to do a talk on fishing the Salmon River for various species. I want to thank Ralph for arranging Rocky to speak with us again. And then in November 8th, we're going to continue the theme with fall tributary fishing. We haven't locked down a guest speaker yet, but we have a couple of folks that we've approached on that. So in November, we'll be talking about fishing the local tributaries, which is this is the hot time of the year around here, is just starting off for really big fish and out of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. In December, we'll have a holiday party. Now, hopefully we'll have it in a real party and not just a virtual Zoom party. But we're doing that on the 13th. We're still waiting for, COVID to cool off a bit before we get together back in person. We were hoping tonight we'd be back at the American Legion, but based on advice that we got from TU National, and also when we surveyed our board, we felt that it still wasn't quite the time to get back together in person. So we're kind of taking this month by month, and each month we'll just see if things have improved enough that we consider it safe enough to get back in person, which all of us are really dying to do. So in December, we're going to continue our theme of our tradition of having a holiday party. And then in January 10th, the theme will be fly tying. That's kind of the traditional thing to do in the winter. And we'll be, we're approached a couple of folks to be guest speakers for us who are also can do fly tying virtually, and we'll have that locked down hopefully soon. February, we don't have a guest speaker, but we do want to promote a fishing show that's going to be occurring in Niagara Falls that Scott Felternelli is very involved with, the Greater Niagara Fishing and Outdoor Expo, which is at the Expo Center right in downtown Niagara Falls, New York. They held that in 2 years ago, and was the last time that was held. They actually moved it up a month. It used to be in January, which was freezing to go to Niagara Falls in mid-January. So hopefully it might be a tad warmer. But a really good show, and they're doing a greater emphasis on fly fishing at this year's show. So that's like the closest outdoor show in our area. So we'll be doing kind of a preview of that, and probably have another guest speaker as well. So looking forward to that. And then in March 14th, Tim Flagler is going to be joining us virtually, I assume. Thanks again, Ralph, for arranging that. Speaker, Ralph's a good friend of Tim's, and arranged for the event we had a few years ago when Tim came up to Canandaigua. So we're going to have Tim speak to us in March again about fly tying. We have an open slot in April, so if anyone has any ideas or anyone they think would be a good guest speaker or theme, let us know, and we can slot them into that April slot. In May, we are planning to do, this is our third attempt to do our reintroduce our fly fishing school at Ononda Park in Canandaigua. That's actually on a Saturday. Our thought right now is, rather than have a meeting in May, that this will be the event in May. Will be our fly fishing school, and we'll look for more. If you want to volunteer for the event, or you just want to come to it, we're still working out some of the details. Although we've revamped the course, and so stay tuned. I'm really looking forward to that because we've had to cancel it twice in 2020 and 2021. So hopefully third time will be the charm. And then in June, this was brought up, was to bring back an event that we'd had years ago called a One Fly Challenge. And we'd like to do that on the Cohocton River. Again, this is a Saturday, June the 11th. And the area we did this on was the what was called the Special Regulations parking lot. It's I think the name of the road is Avoca Back Road or something. It's off the highway, but it's a really pretty spot. It's got a lot of room, and we can put together set up a grill and have a picnic, and then also have a kind of a friendly fishing competition in this area. This was a really good place to fish this spring. I had a lot of luck where we're doing this, so look forward to that as a fishing event in June. And then in July 11th, Monday, July 11th, we're going to have our second bass and panfish invitational at Boughton Park in East Bloomfield. We're going to talk a little bit more about that event later, but it was a very successful event we did this past July, and we got permission again to hold it again. So hopefully that'll be kind of an annual tradition going forward. One thing that's changed with our meetings this year is we changed the dates so that they're all on the second Monday of each month instead of the third Monday. On the third Mondays, we conflicted with holidays in January and February. So we were moving the dates around anyway. So we just had kind of fewer conflicts by moving it just to the second Monday of each month. So just to mark your calendars. So we got a pretty good season I set up for us, and looking forward to a lot of fun stuff this year. Okay, this is my monthly plea for volunteers, but it actually I must really thank a lot of folks, Ralph, John Sheldon, Al, Will, and a lot of other folks I'm probably forgetting, but thanks for those who have volunteered. Always can use some help, and I mentioned our fly fishing school, so we'll be looking for people to help as instructors and to facilitate that. And anytime you can help with the newsletter, that's a big contribution. So if you have photos or stories or fishing tips, just send those our way. And you can email those to us at info@canandaigualaketU.org. That's the kind of new email link we have. Okay, Al, let me put you on now and give us our conservation update, because I know you had a busy summer in many ways.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you good.
Okay. Hey, I don't have a whole lot to say. The main thing going on right now is we're still trying to move forward with the Crossroads project, where we're putting in the 9 habitat improvement structures. We were going to do it in July, but the water was too high. And as you know, lately it's been raining quite a bit. The river's up at 2.6. I'm getting with our partners, the DEC and the Steuben County Soil and Water District. We're scheduled to go forward with it next week, starting the 20th, but I'm double checking with them right now to see if they're good to go. Although we're running the project, we're depending on them to bring all the toys, the big equipment, so they have to make the final decision. So I'm checking with them right now, and I hope to, excuse me, that we'll be able to go forward next week. I've got about 4 volunteers lined up to help with help. And if any of them are listening, I'll send you out a note as soon as I can this week, letting you know for sure whether we're going to go or not, and also making sure I tell you last minute things, what to bring or anything. So we're really hoping we can go forward next week, but remains to be seen. See what there's more rain in the forecast. We'll just have to see what comes out. That's all I have right now.
All right, great. Yeah, it has been a wet summer here. It has really been some high water.
Hey, Al,
Yeah.
it's only running right now at like 28 cubic feet per second. If it's down at that low, I mean, they may not be able to come, but I think the water levels should be appropriate.
Well, it's a little higher than we wanted because we really want to keep turbidity at the minimum, and then the higher the flow, the harder it's going to be to position the trees exactly the way we wanted them. So it's higher than we wanted it, but like I say, it's 2.6 and falling, and so I just have to double check with them and see if they're in agreement. Like I say, they bring all the big toys, so right now they get the final vote. But I hope to go forward next week.
It's 2.6, but it's only running It's only running at 28 cubic feet per second, but fine.
Well, that sounds low, but that puts quite a bit of water in the project area. So it's 2.6 and dropping. We're hoping for the best, but they get the final vote.
Got it.
I'll let you know.
All right, well, thanks, Al. And let's hopefully cross our fingers on that. We've had enough rain. Although probably the fish in the river like all that extra water, I imagine. Do you know what the temperature is in the Cohocton? Is it fishable again, or is it?
I think it's at a pretty good temp right now. I would say it's fishable both from temperature standpoint and from water flow. I'd say, I'd say it's in good shape.
Great. Okay. All right. Let's see. Will, can you give us an update, if there is one, on Project Healing Waters? I know we've been.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to open it up nationwide by different regions, and I think they've dialed it back when the Delta variant started to raise its ugly head. So we've just, we're not doing anything.
Okay.
It's just, and not only that, the Canandaigua VA is still undergoing reconstruction. So we don't really have a place to go and work with the vets that are in the hospital anyway. So it's going to be a while, I think,
Okay.
before Project Healing Waters gets going again.
All right. Well, that's not much change. It's sad news in a way, but so it sounds like they're not doing much nationally, not just us, but in general, they probably aren't doing too many programs.
Well, it's one of those things where you try and do stuff and, you put a lot of effort into planning something and only have to cancel it because, the positivity rate goes above 5% somewhere. And so I think a lot of people are just holding off.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll check each month, and hopefully we'll get something going here again. All right. So that's kind of our business section here, which is good. I'd like to get that done in about 15 or 20 minutes. If you have any questions on anything, just drop a chat and we'll get to that. And got a few more people who have joined us here. So let's start off with kind of how we spent our summer vacation. So we've got a couple of things, and this is kind of in order of events this summer. We starting in June. going through right now in September here. So we'll talk to you about the Canandaigua Trout Derby, our Hungry Trout trip. We had a new website go live and et cetera here. So let's, without further ado, get right into it. So this picture is not photoshopped. That's a real fish, if you can see that. So this was the 40th annual Canandaigua Lake Trout Derby, which our chapter is a donor to. We've donated to this event for many years. And the winner this year caught a 29.25 pound lake trout. He was trolling with a planer board. And the previous record was 16 pounds and something. So this fish was just like in another universe. Then it may even be a record for Canandaigua Lake. I don't know if that's been ascertained or not. Fish was almost 40 inches long. And the Derby was pretty much over in about the first hour or so. This fish was weighed in on the first at 9 o'clock on the first day of the Derby, and that was kind of shut the contest down. Although people continued to fish, it was a very hot weekend. This was the first weekend in June, and we had actually one of the hottest weekends of the summer. It wasn't even officially summer when this Derby occurred, but they raised a lot of money for a lot of good charities, Camp Good Days, the Mercy Flight, and Naples Hospice House. And it's hard to see the other winners, but you can see most of the other fish were kind of in the 10 or 11 pound range, 7 pounds, et cetera, which are huge fish, but this thing just was in a different, universe than any of those others. So our longtime member, Andy Udacek, is one of the organizers. Unfortunately, Andy couldn't be here tonight to talk about the Derby, but I did want to share that picture. So that is quite a fish. And then here are some of the other fish. You can see it was beautiful weather in spite of the heat there. This gentleman on the left, that's actually the second place fish, which was over a 12-pound brown trout. And the next couple of fish were browns, but you can see some big, I think these are rainbows in the center here, and you got some other big lake trout. So our namesake lake has some very large fish in it. They're usually you have to use some kind of trolling method to get down deep to get them, especially when it's hot in the summer. Although there are other techniques to get down there. And if you're really real hardy soul there, a lot of these fish are closer to shore in some of the colder months. But quite some fish in Canandaigua Lake. So the next event, three of us took advantage of. In March, we had a guest speaker from the Hungry Trout Resort in the Adirondacks, Matt DiLorenzo, and they came up with a special promotion for Trout Unlimited chapters. And so three of us took advantage of that. And we also had the same hot weather in the Adirondacks that they did in Canandaigua. This was about the first week in June. And we picked that date, I think it was June 7th, because we figured that would be perfect trout fishing weather. I was more worried about black flies than heat, but when we got up there, it was like in the mid 90s. I think it was 95 in Burlington, Vermont that day we arrived. So we had to be careful with the fishing. Matt was our guide for the day, and we had signed up to be taken to a private area called the Bush Country, and drove down these like dirt logging roads and bounced all the way down to the river. Matt took the temperature and it was over 72 degrees, so we had to go to plan B. And so he got us on fish, though. This is where he ended up taking us. This is the west branch of the Ausable River. If you've never been there, it's just a beautiful stream, pretty accessible. It runs right along the highway. And we were actually not far from Whiteface Mountain ski resort in this shot here. And anybody who's fished in the Ausable will always comment how tricky it is to wade. And you can see, because it's the stream is just full of these boulders. There's this big granite boulders all over the bottom there. So you really have to plan like each step carefully and not trip or turn an ankle or anything. But no, he really worked his butt off for us and got us on some fish. And we had a great time. Luckily, the day we went fishing, it cooled off. It was overcast and rained a little bit, and it cooled off down to like the 70s. So it was we caught a break on the date that we did go fishing. So hopefully we'll do this again. It was a really fun trip, and they couldn't have been better hosts for us. Here's some other shots from the Hungry Trout trip. John, this is John Chaldone here. And you can see under the water there, when I was talking about these rocks here, there's just these round boulders throughout the stream, and a lot of fish around those rocks, but you have to kind of pick your way very, very carefully. What's the hardest wading I've ever done. But we did, all things considered, I can't complain about the fishing. This is a nice rainbow we caught in I think they call it the home pool. It's right in back of the resort. There's a nice pool there. So I was swinging a woolly bugger through there and got lucky enough to get this fish. So fun trip, and look for us to potentially do that again. Well, one thing that was challenging for the resort, as has been for a lot of restaurants and places in the hospitality industry, was staffing shortages, which we've been hearing about all summer. And in the Adirondacks in particular, a lot of the summer help they get are foreign workers on the what's called the J1 visa program, which that's been suspended. So a lot of the source of labor wasn't available this year. This is a problem in other resort areas too, I've heard about. So part of the deal was that we were supposed to get meals at the restaurant at the Hungry Trout, but they had to close just because they didn't have enough staff to keep the restaurant open. But Matt was very gracious and took us out to other restaurants in Lake Placid and other areas that were open. So it was a great trip in spite of the unexpected heat wave. So moving along, so that was in early June. And so later at the end of June, early July, we had a big tech go live. I saw John sign on. Are you on, John? I'm gonna put you on the spot here and make you talk about your handiwork.
Yeah, I'm here.
Let me just stop this share. So we went live with a new website, and I'm gonna bring that up here. And I want to thank John's going to give us all I have to do is find it here. That isn't our website, that's our Facebook page, but that's quite a fish as well. It's holding it. So very large steelhead. That was just from today. Okay, everyone, do you see the website?
Yep.
Okay, I'll give you the mic then.
Oh, yeah. So no, thanks a lot. And it wasn't just me. We had some help from Seth Green. We had some help from another gentleman and his kids. He's got some teenage sons that helped Gordon and I sort of lay out the framework for this. And so this is the new look and feel we have. I don't know if you want to scroll down, Gordon. I don't know if anyone's been on the site, but we just wanted to, at least on the front page, show the newsletter, if you will, and then just kind of what we do, right? Just some highlights of what we do around conservation and fishing and fly tying and things like that. And we wanted to make it sort of visually captive, but simple to use, so just some simple icons and buttons to click on here and there. We wanted to show upcoming events on the first page as well. So we got a nice calendar, and if you click on the dates where there's something, it'll bring you to some details about those events, right?
Okay.
And then if you just want to go back to the top of the menu, or is that, yeah, just go to the top. You just kind of scroll, maybe just highlight the menus just to show what's there. We don't want to waste everyone's time. But so we have the meeting and events, we have how to become a member, and the newsletter archive. So if you missed the newsletter, or if you want to go back and see past articles, if you click on the link, it'll take you to the archive that Gordon keeps with all the newsletters as well. So it's very simple to use. We try not to keep too much on one page. If you go to the conservation section, again, if you want to click on one of those links down there, it just talks about the work that Al's been doing and things like that. You can just scroll down and we can update that as we get on to new conservation projects or new things we want to work on. It's just very simple but informative, right?
And all of these photos and tagged, Al actually provided all of this for us. This is
Right.
a new section for us.
Yep.
That's why we have to have the stream low, so we can get equipment like that into
Wow.
that project.
That picture is amazing, I think. Yeah.
And we put some pretty big boulders in there. That's a beautiful section if you never looked at it.
Yeah, it's a great job, I think. Yeah.
There's from our trout stocking, which hopefully we'll be able to do that again this March and April. That was fun. Okay.
Yeah, and then we had a section on fly fishing, and we have a number of links there. So if you want some instruction and techniques, if you want to click through any of those, that's fine.
Yeah, we have a lot of links to Orvis, like the knots section. This goes to that thing called Orvis's animated knots page.
Yeah.
And then our fly fishing instruction, I'll talk to this in a few minutes too. We actually put our course, Intro to Fly Fishing, we hooked it up to the website. And if you click here, that'll take you into YouTube. I'll do that in a few minutes and show you the actual course. So if anyone's interested in learning how to fly fish, they can just go right here. And
We
local
put
fisheries. Let me show that one. I like what you did there.
Sure.
So that's actually that's a correct Owaka Creek. That's brown trout. So we should put that in there. But these are kind of the local streams.
Yeah, and if you click on the links, it brings you to the DEC. The DEC has like a PDF of each of these, the rights, the fishing rights. So you get a link to that for
There's
each
a
of the rivers.
Rondequoit Creek and the maps of that. That's going to get busy here soon.
Yeah.
And Salmon River, of course. That's Lauren Wink, but okay.
It's like we have a broken link there if you click
Yeah.
on salmon. All right. And then at the bottom of the page too, there's just a couple more links to the DEC site. I think it's at the bottom of this one. Yeah, just daily stream flow conditions. There's the new interactive map they have as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you can link to that if you want to, things like that.
Yeah, so if you're seeing this for the first time, it's CanadaguaLakeTU.org. Please give it a spin. There's a lot of pages here, so if you see a typo or you have a question or a link doesn't seem to go where it's supposed to, let us know. It's very easy to maintain, and there are 3 of us so far that have the authority to make changes. So we have backup on website changes, John and I, and we also gave Al authority so he could keep his conservation page up to date. Al, we'll have to make a date at some point to show you how to do that, but you've got the authority.
Yep.
There's also links to our Facebook and YouTube channels. There's links to donate if you want to donate, links to join, things like that. Contact us page.
Yeah. Here's the donation page. I usually don't like to bug people for money, but we did have to, with all this high tech, we had to buy a lot of software licenses, including the one for this system. So, you know, if you feel like helping us out a little bit, I'd appreciate it a lot. All of us would help kind of pay for some of this software we invested in this year to kind of keep the boat afloat while we've been doing all this virtual work here. But we have tested it, and we know the donation link works pretty good. We also have a nice the contact us link works very well too. That will shoot an email out if you have any kind of questions and so forth. So that was a big thing we did this summer, was get this up and live. And I can't thank John enough for all the work that he volunteered and did for us. It was, I'd hate to think if we paid by the hour for this, it'd probably be well into the 4 figures for the value of this work we have. Okay, so that was a non-fishing related thing we did this summer, but a really big was our new website. Okay, so in July we had a first event. One thing that always I wondered about with not just our TU chapter, but other ones I was acquainted with, is they always tended to shut down for the summer. And I never could understand that, since a lot of times that's when people, you know, want to fish and get involved. So a lot of things I preach is that once you get to a certain point in June, usually when the weather gets hot in our area, a lot of times the water gets too warm to safely fish for trout. You know, the water temp will get up in the 70s, and it's just dangerous to the trout. Even if you catch and release a fish, a lot of times you stress them out, and the hot water will just will kill them. So I a lot of times will preach, we'll go bass fishing, or go fishing for panfish or other species that are warm water species, which we have abundant. A lot of places to fish for warm water species in our area. So we held this event in July, and it was our first bass and panfish invitational. It was held at Boughton Park in East Bloomfield, and Boughton Park was formerly the Fairport water reservoirs. It was a water supply for the village of Fairport, which outgrew it. They had to hook onto Rochester's water supply. So there's 2 reservoirs in the park. They call it the East and West Ponds, and they're just loaded with largemouth bass and panfish, and it's just a really beautiful park. It's the access to the park is actually restricted to residents of Victor and East and West Bloomfield. You have to have a special parking permit to go in the park. But I live in Victor, so I approached the Parks Commission on being able to hold a special event for our chapter there. And they agreed. They gave us 10 special parking permits. And in exchange for that, we agreed that we'll do some type of fishing education program for them. We're still trying to determine what that will be. Right now, we're leaning towards updating and creating some kind of a fishing kiosk in the parking area of the park, promoting catch and release, especially for the bass. You can get some genuine lunker bass in there, but and most people are getting better and better with catch and release. But in order to continue to have large bass in the park, we'd like to promote catch and release. And so we've done that, and also we're kind of positioning ourselves to be a fishing resource for the Parks Commission. I've gone to some of their meetings and talked a little bit about some things, and we've discussed some things about like perhaps having an electroshocking to do a survey of just what types of fish and the numbers are in the two lakes, and some other things. So we have you know, a nice dialogue we've established with the Park Commission, and the event was so successful. We're going to do it again in next July, this time on the 11th. So watch out for the details on that. And here are some other photos. We had some interesting watercraft that came with folks there. A lot of kayaks and canoes, and Jerry was the bravest person because he went out there in this float tube. The only regret he said he had later is that he wore shorts because the mosquitoes had fun with his legs as he was flipping around there. But he caught quite a few fish, and we had nobody I talked to, everybody caught fish that went on this event, so it was really a big success from that standpoint, and some fairly big ones too. So, and then Mike Lindsay, who's a really avid photographer, took this shot of this green heron there as he was fishing. So it was a great event, and so look for that again this coming next July. Okay, so that was our bass and panfish invitational. And the next thing I want to mention is what we've done with our fly fishing school. And those who remember, a couple of years ago, we did a presentation at the Victor Parks and Recreation on intro to fly fishing. And we did some revision to that, and then I set up a Zoom call and in May and recorded it. And so that's on YouTube also, and you can access that from our website. But it's about 90 minutes long of kind of, just like it says, just basic introduction to fly fishing. And we've had two our guinea pig students this summer who've taken the course and helped us out. And that's a really good friend of mine, Cecily, who lives in Mendon, and then a new member who I think is on the meeting, Doug Beckett, who you see on the right there. And after they've gone through the course, we then, this was actually Jim Canton's idea. We have basically one-on-one instruction with our students. And there's two spots we've taken them to. The municipal park in Victor has a nice big pond here, which is full of, it's hard to see it, the little sunny there that Doug's holding there, but it's about 2 or 3 inches long, but it's thousands of them there. So they're pretty, they give you that positive reinforcement. So it's a great, I always like to take beginning fly fisher to someplace that has a lot of sunfish. And the other place where Cecily is fishing is in Shortsville, really another beautiful park called Bud Park in Shortsville, where the Canandaigua outlet runs through. And it's just a beautiful stream. They stock it with trout. It's listed as a stocked category by the DEC because it gets very warm. So most of it's kind of a put and take trout fishery, but it's just loaded with warm water species, particularly smallmouth bass. The other day, the last time I went there, we were catching smallmouths, rock bass, crappies, and I even caught a 12-inch long fall fish, which is about the biggest one of those minnows I've ever caught. So it's a fun, really fun stream, and a great place to teach people, stream techniques. The last time I took Cecily there, we taught her how to use an indicator. And so she was catching smallmouth bass using an indicator and a nymph for the first time. So anyone that wants to learn how to fly fish, get in touch with us. We're gearing up pretty good for that. And I want to thank Jim for that idea of the river helper, we call it, to kind of give one-on-one instruction. And if you'd like to volunteer for that program, let us know too, because I think it really is something that we can become known for. Doug actually found out about it through the Orvis store. He was wondering where to, learn how to fly fish, and they put him in touch with us. So that worked out really well.
Hey, Gordon, you went to the outlet recently. Did you catch any trout?
No, I haven't caught a trout there ever. I was there actually last week, and it was all bass and rock bass and a lot of fall fish, which are interesting fish to catch around here. Those are also called creek chubs, I guess, to some people. But the one I caught that was about 12 inches long was a real trophy. I thought it was a nice smallie. But
I talked to the DEC about trying to change that into a viable trout stream, and they said it just gets too warm in the summer, and they really couldn't support it. So
yeah, it's very warm. As you can see, she's actually we were wet wading. It was quite pleasant to just go out in your pants and wade around. So it's a very warm stream, but it's a beautiful stream. That section of it just looks like just a gorgeous trout stream. It's got little waterfalls and riffles and really nice stream. I recommend it for anyone that just wants to do some easy warm water fishing in a stream. Okay, I'm gonna give my voice a rest and let Ralph take over, because he went a little farther away than we've been so far. He went out to Montana in late July. Okay, Ralph, you're on. Just got to unmute. There he goes. Let me.
he must have went for a beer.
Oh, I'm here. I'm trying to get rid of. There we go. I went, as it says, from the 30th of July to August 5th, out to Troy, Montana, which is near the headwaters, if you will, the Kootenai River, which comes out of a huge lake or dam, and it's relatively remote. It's a good 3 to 3.5 hour drive from Spokane up to Libby, and you're only about 30 miles from Canada, so it doesn't get a lot of traffic like you get further south in Montana to the Missouri or the Madison rivers. The other good thing about it being up there is that, and coming out of this huge reservoir, is that the water is still pretty cold, and they never had to shut it down in the middle of summer. So you can go to the next slide, Gordon. So you can see it up there on the right-hand side is this big reservoir that feeds this, and then it runs pretty much from the bottom right-hand side of this picture all the way up to the upper left-hand corner, and then on into Idaho and further. But we fished it from the dam where that first 37 is all the way to the Idaho border, putting it at different places on different days. The other thing that was outstanding about this is that we rarely saw another drift boat, and that's we may have seen another one in the party that we were with, because there were probably, well, there were 8 of us. That's 4 drift boats, plus they had a couple more guides with other people. But other than those, I think we saw 2 other drift boats during the 5 days that weren't from Linehan's. Go ahead, Gordon. So Linehan's Outfitting, you guys can look them up on the web. You can Google them. They've been around for like 30 years. They're an Orvis recommended Orvis outfit. In fact, you could actually go up there and fish and bring a hat clothes and sunglasses, because they will outfit you with the latest Orvis H3 rods, Helios 3 rods, if you are so inclined. I wasn't, but that was certainly available for you. Go ahead, Gordon. Next slide. So I took this off their website because it's a much better picture than I would take. The Kootenai, though, is a huge river, and you fish a lot of shelves and gravel bars. It's almost entirely, the fishing is almost entirely out of a drift boat. And that time of year, it's essentially entirely dry flies. That being said, I did a little bit of nymphing, but the only thing I caught on a nymph, which is why we quit, was whitefish, the Colorado whitefish, or the whatever, the whitefish out there. But they're not too exciting to catch, to be quite honest. So next slide. This is more like what it looked when we were out there. There was a fire about 30 miles away, and it was hot. I mean, the whole week was in the 90s. In fact, there was a day or two that pressed 100 in it. But the water, again, was still cold enough that nobody got shut down. The fish were in great shape, and we could continue without any problems. Go to the next slide. It's a beautiful river, and again, you're seeing the haze from the smoke. That got to be a little bit much by the end of the day at times. Good thing I wasn't rowing, because if you were rowing, it just added to the problems. And again, that's good. You can go to the next one. One day was pretty clear. As you can see mountains in the background. The scenery is absolutely breathtaking. The wildlife, we saw some wildlife, not a lot. One morning we got up. You can go to the foggy pictures. The one on the left, it's hard to see, but that is the dam. We put it at the dam this particular morning, and it was cool, and there was this layer of fog. That dam is 400 feet high. It doesn't maybe look like it in this picture, but it's gargantuan. It's just really big. And that's what this tailwater is. It's fueled by that. They have rainbow trout in this, and they have cutthroats, they have bull trout, and they have sturgeon, which you're not supposed to fish for at all, but they're there. Go ahead. So the main mode of transportation are drift boats. You will get an occasion where you'll hook up doubles. I won't say that happened every day, but it wasn't unusual to have a double in the boat. So you were fishing for both the front and the back of the boat were pulling a fish in. Again, just to show you that the drift boat's the mode of transportation on the right. It was basically entirely, with the one exception, we did a little bit of streamer fishing, but the fishing was all dry flies. And so if you want to improve your dry fly game, this is the place to go. And the flies that we were using, because they've got a huge supply of stone flies, were one of a couple that we use mostly. The water walker, which you see on the right, either in red or purple. And then the next slide will show you the chubby Chernobyl. So we use those a lot. You could see both of those flies with the white wings on them. And then, of course, we were using another fly called a purple haze parachute, which uses a white post as well. So now that you've heard about everything else, it's probably time to show a couple fish pictures. Rainbows and cutthroats are the fish that you're going to catch up there, and their bread and butter fish is like 12 to 14 inches. But these fish punch above their weight class. Next. Yeah, they punch way above their weight class, and they're all chunky, just super healthy fish. They were a lot of fun to catch. You had to be fast on stripping them in with barbless hooks, otherwise they were fish. They would swim towards you, and you'd lose them. Next. So yes, I did catch some fish. There's one of my rainbows on the left, and then another one on the right. And given the sun and the heat, everybody was dressed like you see me there with hoods on. And the last picture, next one, is the fish. That was the fish of the trip. That's a bull trout, 30 inches, caught on a streamer. You're not supposed to target them, but we were fishing streamers this day, and I got lucky. And that's for me, that's a hell of a catch. That's all, folks, unless anybody's got questions.
The bull trout, it looks like almost like a lake trout with the shape of it. I guess they're in the char family.
Yes, yes.
With like brook trout fins on it with the oranges.
Brook trout, and this is a char as well. So
Yeah, gorgeous.
And it fights. That thing gave me a hell of a tussle.
All right, looks like a awesome trip. Were the fires? I know they were in Canada, weren't they? Or
We were in Yak, and Yak is on the Yak, which is a little further west and north. So go one down there.
oh, there you go.
Well, yeah, Yak, but Yak is kind of, that's Yak. But
Okay.
it's another, it's not really showing up here, but it's you see where Troy is, it's north of Troy, a little ways.
So pretty close to you then. You weren't-
Yeah, not far away. Wasn't a huge fire, but it was enough.
Yeah, it was a really awful summer out there for fires. All right, well, thanks, Ralph. That looks like, I assume these are all Tim Flagler's patterns there.
Not necessarily. I'll tell you what, the other thing I should put on two plugs in for is the Linehan's guides are maybe the best set of guides I've ever been with. They were terrific, and not to mention fun, but helpful. Knew the water extremely well. I mean, they were unflappable. They were terrific. And the other thing was we were staying in Troy. Linehan's itself is located up on the Yak. That's where their hunting stuff goes on. But we were in a place called the River House. So there were 8 of us staying there, and Joanne Linehan cooked for us every night and had stuff in the for breakfast, like breakfast burritos and stuff that they cooked, and we heated up the next morning. And the food was absolutely first rate. And shore lunches, they got sandwiches from some deli that I wish was here, because they were just fabulous. The eating was terrific.
No, it looks like a great trip. So thanks for sharing. All right, and then Will, you're up because you went to Montana too.
Yeah, so Jim Drone and I flew out to Montana on the 23rd of August, and we flew home on September 1st. There were 4 of us on this trip. The couple in the front, those steps, that's Eric, who and Juanita. Eric is Jim's nephew or cousin or something like that. Never quite figured it out. Anyway, they drove from Kentucky, which I thought was rather heroic, but they're young, they can do such things. We stayed at the Driftwaters Resorts. We flew out on a Monday. On the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of the previous week, they had a lot of rain and even some snow and high temperatures in the 50s. So it really cooled down the river. There were hoot owl restrictions on the Madison in that part where we were, but only because they didn't want the river to get too stressed from having everybody go there from all the surrounding rivers that were closed or had the hoot owl restrictions. So from what we heard, there was a lot of, in June and July, there was a lot of people out there, like too many. And then in August, when it started to get hot, they put in these hoot owl restrictions on a lot of the surrounding rivers. The Madison never got above 60 where we fished, but they instituted those regulations anyway to protect the river from overfishing. There was a fair amount of smoke the first day we got there, but then the wind changed and we had some light rain overnight. So we had some pretty clear skies, as you can see in these photographs. The Monday before we left, the smoke started to move in again. It wasn't as good fishing as it was last year, in that it was actually somewhat difficult. The best fish, Jim caught a 20-inch brown on the first morning, and I caught a 20-inch rainbow on the last afternoon. We stayed at the Driftwaters Resort. We cooked all of our own meals. The big goal of the trip was to get Eric and Juanita into trout. And because they had never been fishing out there before, Eric fishes for smallmouth bass down in Kentucky, but not trout. So that was the major goal. Jim ties a lot of the flies that we use, and Eric was also a fly tyer. So we didn't really even buy any flies from any of the shops or anything. We have our own patterns that we've designed over the years, and a lot of them are Jim's creations. That gives you an idea. There's Jim tying flies, and there's me over there eating or something. I don't know. Anyway, next slide. So how come I have two? Okay, here we go. So that's Juanita on the left with her fish. She was very happy. She finally got into a big enough fish of any sort of size. She caught one on the first day, but it was very small. And then she caught this one on the last day, so she was happy. Eric caught some nice sized fish. He was a little bit more successful. Of course, he's also a lot more experienced. There's me with nice brown. It was fairly crowded because there's a lot of walking and wade fishing there. In the Madison River is, of course, very popular. You'd see people park along the edge. 4 guys would jump out. They'd spread out about 20 yards, and they'd all walk up the bank, pounding the banks with grasshoppers. We didn't catch any fish by the banks at all. We caught all of our fish fairly far out in the main current. And I think part of the reason that happened was because so many people were beating the hell out of the water within 10 feet of the bank. The most memorable fish was a 17-inch rainbow that came charging out of a pool and nailed one of my flies. And it was like within a foot of the bank, and then it turned around and went right back into the pool. And so that was, I watched it happen, and that was pretty exciting. We mostly fished around $3 Bridge and down near the West Fork, for those of you who are familiar with the Madison. We also fished one day between the lakes, caught a lot of whitefish that day, but also a fair number of trout. So that was an interesting change. That's about it. Eric and Juanita left on Sunday morning because they had to drive 2 days back to Kentucky. Jim and I fished until about 4 o'clock on Tuesday, drove to Bozeman, stayed overnight, and then flew home. So it was a short trip. Usually we do 10 to 14 days. This was 8-9 days, but we had a lot of fun, and it was good to get out there. And only a day or two were wrecked by the smoke, and there were fires all over the damn place out there. You know, it's blowing smoke from California, Oregon, Idaho, etc. But we had a good time. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, it looks great. Was the travel any easier this year? I remember last year you had some adventures with the airlines, and so.
It was pretty straightforward. We didn't have any trouble whatsoever. If on the way out, you fly down to Atlanta, leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then a direct flight from Atlanta to Bozeman. And the way back, you fly through Salt Lake City, then Detroit, and then back to Rochester. So a little bit longer on the way home, but it was fine.
Good. I'm impressed that Juanita's nails match her outfit there. So that's probably what she had such good luck.
Oh,
Perfectly matched there.
you know, Gordon, if you want to attract more women to fly fishing, you're not supposed to mention those sorts of things.
Oh, okay. Well, that was complimentary. It was meant to be.
I know. I'm just teasing you.
All right. It looks like a great time in spite of the fires there. What was the air temps? You said it was pretty hot, like
Oh, we had one day in the 85, like up to 85, but most days were in the mid 70s. It was very pleasant.
oh, okay.
We only did wet wading. We didn't even bring waders with us.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. My transition keeps, that's why I keep bouncing around the slides here. So I note to turn that off next time we do this. All right. So we're back to New York now. I saw Paul sign on. Do you want to tell us how you did?
I wasn't part of this trip of the picture you've got. That was a trip that he took. I'm trying to think where he was. He's just below the dam in Cranberry Lake on a river called the Grass River. He still is willing to venture off into the weeds up above your head and forge his own trail to see what he can find in the crazy little streams and rivers. And that's what he found. He was looking for wild brookies, and that's, well, it was a hike to get there, but he did it without any problem. All wet wading, of course. It was hotter than blazes that week, and he had a really good time. I know that. His girlfriend went with him. She did just about the same as what he's catching there. On the lake itself, I don't think he took any pictures of that part of it, but he was catching quite a number of 30-inch plus northerns on woolly buggers of all things.
Okay.
You want to catch a 36-inch, northern on a woolly bugger? Well, again, that takes quite a bit. You think that wasn't kind of wild? And he did that just strictly for the fun because he's never done it with a fly rod before, and he lost a few. We had this beef up the leader quite a bit, but he did wind up pulling in two of them. One was 31 and one was 36, until he switched back to his bait caster with a steel leader. But it was a good week fishing. He was only really there for 4 days. and had to come back and go to work. But everybody, I think, had a really good time. I got a couple of really nice largemouths from a boat in the lake on one of the small tributaries. I mean, his mouth was big enough. I didn't take any pictures. I didn't have a camera with me or anything. He had, I could easily probably put my hand right in his mouth. That's how big it was. And he, that was quite a fun time. Other than that, we didn't fish a lot this summer. Tyler fished a whole heck of a lot. He's going out to Spokane, Washington in 2 weeks for a week. I don't know a lot about the trip, but he's going with a buddy of his. They're flying out, and I'm not sure exactly what he's targeting for. Where actually he's going. All I know is he's going to Spokane, Washington, because his buddy's uncle lives there, and they're looking at booking a couple of trips for the day. And I'm sure I'll have plenty of pictures when he gets back.
Yeah, Tyler takes a lot of pictures. So
Yes, he does.
some of these, he had even smaller ones. He put about a dozen of these, and some of these are, I mean, they're so tiny, but the coloration is still, so distinct. And with the fins and things, I tried to get some of the prettiest ones that he had there. It's amazing that, like this one on the left there, I mean, the fly's almost as big as the
that's what we've been using. He uses those little white. It's not really a bugger. I tie him, and but he likes the small little white fuzzy things like that with white hackle. It's a real small chenille, and just a large white hackle wrapped around it on a bead. They're probably number 14s or 18 hooks. They're small. They're not very big. He goes through a lot of them, I'll tell you that.
So when was this? This was just a few weeks ago, right? In August?
This one was just a couple of weeks ago. Yes, it was. That one.
Okay.
Right? Yep.
All right. Well, great. Thanks for sharing that. I asked Tyler if he could come on and talk to him, but he's apparently works the overnight shift on his job.
Yes, the next 2 weeks he's working 6 to 6, starting at 6, goes 6 to 6. They're 12-hour days, 12-hour shifts.
Better him than me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, Paul.
Yep.
All right. So now we've gone through June, July, August, and now we're in September. And the big news at the end of the summer is that the salmon runs have started. And I think Scott, he had to drop off for another call, but he caught this king salmon last Thursday and fishing at the Douglaston Salmon Run. Asked me if I could go with him, and unfortunately I had a commitment at night, so I didn't make it, and now I'm kicking myself. But beautiful right out of the lake fish there. So here's Scott's report to me though on if you are going to the Salmon River. So still a little still slow, but if you put in the work, intercept singles on the flats, you might hook up. So he fished for 3 hours to catch this big fish using a white or a black woolly bugger, size 6, on a 9-weight rod. And he recommends fishing on cloudy days. So so they're starting to come in. I would anticipate in this area we'll start to hear about salmon soon too. And then these are also from the DSR. Is very active on Facebook, and every day they're putting pictures out there. So this was one of the first ones they put. That's actually a really big brown trout. That was, I think, at the end of August they posted that one. And then I like this one with the the young fellow and his dad there. Oh, Scott just came in. And Scott, if you're here, we just good timing. We just got to the DSR section here. You want to unmute? You can chime in here.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
The timing on that was impeccable.
It was. It couldn't have been better. So
I was on another Zoom call and I'm like, it's 8:12. They're probably done with their meeting, but let me check in and see what's going on. And bingo, here we are. That's crazy. Anyway, I'll be short and brief. And thank you for the opportunity to share what little I can with you this evening. DSR has been, so I always have a strategy when I go up there. Before, so sort of in my mind, it's the before September 10th or after September 10th is sort of the line of delineation for me. Before September 10th offers cheaper rates, less folks fishing. They have a capacity of 260 during full peak season after September 10th. And I think it's only 65 allowed on the entire 3.2 mile stretch, 65 anglers early on before September 10th. So you have this sort of delineation between these two, the date there, the benchmark. And, you know, I go up there with the idea that it's either a strikeout or a home run before September 10th. You never know what you're going to get. It could be a cloudy, rainy day and fish could be moving and bingo, home run. It rarely happens, but it does happen. There was a day last week on Wednesday, I think it was the 8th, because I went up on the 9th on Thursday, and the cohos pushed. It rained the night before, it rained all that morning, and they liked the rain, the cloud cover, and the cohos pushed and some kings pushed, and there was really quite a bit of flurry of activity that one day. That I went up on Thursday, and you can see by the fish that I caught here, it's quite shiny, which is nice. So it's fresh out of the lake. It was definitely combative. But there weren't many. I was there for 6 hours, maybe. I saw, if I could count, maybe 15 fish scurry by, some singles, some in twos. And, you know, on the flats, you can kind of identify them when there's not many around. You look for them in the flats. At least that's been my strategy. And like I said, not many around. I happened to see one coming up the creek. And it's kind of a funny story. I showed up there, you know, you want to fish these fish with anywhere from 12 to 15 pound test fluorocarbon. And for the most part, 20 pound gets to be too thick, too strong, and you can't break them off if you need to when you foul hook them and all that goes with that conversation. So 10 to 12 or 12 to 15 pound is where you want to be. I show up, I have no fluorocarbon. These fish have great eyesight, and the sunnier it is, the worse, the better their eyesight and the worse your chances are. So this guy gives me this fluorocarbon. I forgot to even look to see if it was fluorocarbon. And frankly, it wasn't. I'm wondering why the 3 or 4 fish prior were nosing away and turning away and shying off. And I'm like, what is going on? They usually like this color. This presentation's pretty good. I got to get one of them. And I looked at the real spool that he gave me, and it was monofilament. And I'm thinking, what a dummy I am. I was so excited to have 15 pound test tippet, if you will, that I didn't bother to look. Such a knuckleheaded move. And I fished for a good 3 hours with this stuff. And I'm sure the 3 or 4 fish that I cast to that I may have had a shot at, I had no shot at all. You got to use fluorocarbon, especially on a sunny day. And so I flipped over to fluorocarbon, put on a black bugger, and I know black works well up there. They have a lot of black stoneflies this time of year. And I figured, what the hell? I've tried every other color. Of course, I've tried every other color with monofilament tippet, which, you know, kind of nullifies the whole conversation. So I put on the fluorocarbon, put on the black bugger, and whammo. I mean, you actually saw the fish come up the creek, cast it out, mend the line, get a perfect mended line to this fish, a nice feed, and it opens its mouth. I could actually watch it eat, opens its mouth, bites the fly, and then does its head shake, right? Writhing in the shallow waters, maybe 1.5 feet deep, 2 feet. And it's writhing around, then it just takes off to the races. And these fish, when they're this early on before September 10th, are a handful. You might hook 10 and land 1 if you're lucky. I got lucky, hooked 1 and landed 1. So it was a lot of luck with that particular effort. I know friends that went up that same day, I may have hooked 3 or 4, probably because they were fishing with fluorocarbon and I wasn't, but they dropped all 4. They never got one to hand. So they're really feisty early on. You can hit a home run early on. The price is greatly reduced. It's like $40 for a full day instead of 80 or 75 during peak. So that's always been my play. Go up early, bang it once, try to pick a cloudy day if you can. Rainy, cloudy days are the best. Fish are going to move. There'll be more movement. Harder to see them, of course. You've got different visuals with the water, with the glare and the like on a cloudy day. But all in all, the other option is to go up after the 10th when the run starts. And of course, everybody's there. The number goes from 65 allotment to 265. And, you know, you're filling the space with a lot of anglers. Still plenty of room to fish. I got to tell you, even at their full capacity, plenty of room to fish. You can find plenty of fish. And when the run is hot and heavy, it's all you can do to not bust your knuckles or wreck your equipment. I mean, it's crazy, you know, and these fish are big and you break off a lot of them just because you either don't want to chase them down or you foul hooked them or, you know, whatever it might be. And you'll hook a lot of good ones legit and in the right way as well. But so I usually go up one more time, maybe twice during the peak after September 10th, and you pay again $80 or 75 for a full day. My game plan is, and we can all entertain this because we all live in the same region or area. I do half days. I drive up there at 11 a.m. I leave here at 11. I get there by noon, 1 o'clock, and they open up the passes. You don't even buy it online. They don't even sell them online, the half-day passes. You actually have to drive up there, but you never, ever get turned away. As people walk off, they sell a ticket to fill their spot. You're on. And so I drive up and do the half days for $40, and I go from 1 till 6, still light out at 6:30, 7 o'clock. You got 6 hours of knuckle busting. That's all you can do. And it's the best value, the best way to go at it. So if people are put off by the crowds or the price or some of those things, that strategy that I just shared with you is not a bad one. Half day, half price, tons of fish. People are leaving by 3 o'clock. The creek is, I wouldn't say it's empty, but you got full reign of anything you want to get at. And these fish are moving. I mean, they're moving up until it's dark or beyond. So that's basically it. It's been slow. It's been a slow pick yesterday. The day I was there after the flurry on Wednesday, it was slow, and it's still been, I didn't see tonight's report, but I still think it's a bit, it's any day. I thought last night's rain would have turned things. And so I'm waiting to see tonight's report. And I bet, if I had to bet, that it was actually really good today. After tonight's rains and the clouds in the morning, I bet it was a flurry of movement most of the morning, if not all day. And it may be the start of things up there. That's it.
Okay. That's a great tip about the half days. I'm because not being an early morning guy anymore myself, that actually has a lot of appeal to me. I find the afternoon bite in the tributaries, when you get those long shadows and things, almost more productive.
Yep.
So here's some other pictures I got off their Facebook feed. I was sharing. I love this one with the little guy there. There we go. So that's a big salmon there too. Let me flip off of here and share their latest. You probably saw this on Facebook, Scott, but let me see if I can get that. Let's see. Hold on, my screen's playing games here. There we go. So they posted today, this gal caught this steelhead at the DSR. And I thought this was like photoshopped or something because it just looks so huge. But that's quite a fish. And that's that this young lady has.
That's magnificent. Do we know her?
Let's see. I don't. Her name was Christina. Maybe you.
Christine. Yeah. Yeah, that's a heck of a steelhead. It's a
salmon, salmon-sized steelhead, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it almost looks like a Skamanian, but I'm not going to start going down that road and guessing, but it's got that long torpedo-like body that you'd see from the West Coast strains.
Quite a fish.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let me do my last slide and wrap up here. Right, we're right on time, actually. That's your picture too, Scott. I think that's your salmon. So that's all, folks. It's waving goodbye.
Thanks.
But no, thanks everyone, Ralph and Will and Paul and Scott, for all the stories tonight. We had a great summer. All of us fishing domestically, no international trips that I know of, but we all made do, and I think had a really good summer. And looking forward to a really good fall too. We've got some good programs. Hope to see everyone here in October. And any of you missed this or want to watch it again, listen to me talk for an hour, you can go on to, we're recording us, and I'll put the recording out on YouTube tomorrow. And all right, thanks a lot, everyone. And hope everyone has a good month. And now we got a good tip to go up to salmon fish. I would advise everyone to do that too. Okay, take care, folks. We'll see you
Thanks,
later.
Gordon. Thank you.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Hi, Gordon.
All right.